Senator Grassley and I share a passion that I think most Americans do, in that it's time that we end this stranglehold that the healthcare industry has on all of us, because they pose as free enterprisers, but there's nothing free about the way they actually operate. Free enterprise means you embrace competition. You're not putting up barriers to entry. You engage the consumer to where they can see what you're charging them. That does not occur. And the alternative will be, it's clear on the other side of the aisle, they want to make government the business partner of healthcare. Well, if the industry doesn't get with it and start doing what all the rest of us do when we go to the marketplace, embrace competition, be willing to compete, don't ask for barriers to entry, and yes, we tell the customer what we charge them before they buy it. That doesn't happen in healthcare. The market is opaque and complex. There's nothing free about it, except that drug makers are free to charge whatever they want. The market is dependent on government-sanctioned rebates and monopolies by the FDA exclusivities and patent abuse. It's time to fix this. PBMs, and that may not mean much to the public, pharmacy benefit managers. That is a structure of middlemen that aren't present in all other industries. Normally, when you have transparency, prices cascade down through the system in a way that everybody can see it. And the successful survivors in that industry have performed because they give good value to their customers. They keep their overhead low, and they earn the business. PBMs use techniques like spread pricing. Well, normally there is a spread. You buy it for this and sell it for that, but not to where people can't see it. It's time that we've got to get away from this complexity and the opaqueness of it, because the day of reckoning will come. And the day of reckoning is not too far away, because most of us, I recently come from the business world. No one likes the healthcare industry other than the CEOs and owners of these businesses. All of us that have to deal with them are just asking for that one simple thing. Show us what things cost, quit hiding it. Insurance companies have these secret deals with hospitals, with pharma, and it's starting to cost too much. It shows up in the fact that it's nearly 20% of our GDP here in the US, and it costs almost half of that in most other developed countries. And the sad thing is, the results aren't any better. In many cases, the results are better at a price that's half the cost. Both Chairman Grassley and I have talked with President Trump. President Trump has been the most vocal individual in D.C. about trying to get the industry to work like the rest of us entrepreneurs do. Every time he has an executive order, they take him to court. That's ending, because just recently the hospitals tried that and district court overturned it. They'll probably appeal it. Hopefully the appellate court will overturn it. I've got a transparency bill which is as simple as show us what you're charging us before we engage your service. Chuck's got the same thing basically on drug pricing. And let me tell you how that works. This is a real live experiment that I put into place 12 years ago. I was so sick and tired of the insurance agents coming in telling me how lucky I was. It's only going up 5 to 10% this year. I didn't think I was very lucky. My company wasn't large enough to spend a lot of time on it. When we got to be 300 employees, that starts to add up. Now we have 1,000. Thank goodness my kids have to deal with that with a good young executive team, but I put something in place 12 years ago I'm proud of. I said enough is enough. What do we have that's really going to change the dynamic? And you got to remember, 12 years ago, talk about trying to find transparency then, we were lucky that we were large enough to self-insure. And by doing that, we probably saved close to 25%. And by engaging our employees in their own well-being and incentivizing them to shop around to enable their ability to find better prices, it was even there if you looked for it hard back then. Long story short, we've not had a premium increase at my company in 12 years. Proud of that. And we covered pre-existing conditions with no caps on coverage because we took a radical change to how health care should be bought by the consumer, the employer, and forced the transparency out of a system that wasn't giving much of it then. Now there's more transparency, but it's just on the fringes. If you get that to happen, prices will cascade down through the system. President Trump had another executive order for pharma. All these expensive drugs you see advertised, put the price along with the advertisement. And a lot of times it's deceptive. You can get it for as little as $5 a month. Well, somebody's paying for that $60,000 or $70,000 drug. It's generally the employer. The employees some of it, but it's again due to the fact that we can't see anything. Americans are blindfolded from prices only to receive medical bills, often, that they get 2 months later and have no idea. They open the envelope with trepidation and, oh my goodness, it wasn't what I thought it would be. More often than not, it's, oh my gosh, this is terrible. It's got to end, and it'd be different if we were asking for something that was radical. What we're asking for is tell us what you're charging us before we have to engage your services. And that is why it's so important. The White House is behind it. Hopefully the other side of the aisle will get behind it. Support Chairman Grassley's bill, Prescription Drug Pricing Reduction Act, and support my bill, the Healthcare Price Transparency Act. The story I told you about my own company would happen across the country, and we wouldn't be complaining about these surprise billings. We wouldn't be holding our breath. We would be simply doing what all other educated consumers do when they go to buy from truly free enterprise.